In today's video, I want to show you how to divide complex numbers, like the one we have down here. Before we do that, you must be familiar with complex numbers in the form a plus bi, and you must know what a complex conjugate is. If not, I'll give you a little bit of review. Remember, when you have a number in the form a plus bi, when you multiply it by the complex conjugate, it gives you a real number. So let's go ahead and think about how we can simplify this to the form a plus bi. And I encourage you to pause the video and try it out for yourself. Okay, now let's copy this down here. Copy, paste. So we can multiply the numerator and the denominator by the complex conjugate of the denominator. Now that's a lot of mumble jumble, but you'll see what I mean in a second. So let's go ahead and multiply that by 4 plus 3i over 4 plus 3i. And this is algebraically valid because when you have two numbers that are the same divided by themselves, it's just 1. So now let's simplify that further. So we get 15 plus 10i times 4 plus 3i over 4 minus 3i times 4 plus 3i. And 4 plus 3i is the complex conjugate of 4 minus 3i, so it should give us a real number. The denominator should simplify to be a real number. And now let's distribute the top. So we do 15 times 4 and then 15 times 3i. So 15 times 4 is 60, and 15 times 3i is 45i. And then now we can distribute to the 10i. 10i times 4 is 40i plus 40i. And 10i times 3i is 30i squared, because you multiply the 10 times the 3 and the I times the I. And let's go ahead and simplify the bottom. And if we remember from algebra, this is the difference of squares. So you do 4 times 4, blah, 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 and then you get 16 minus 9i squared. And you should remember that from algebra. So now let's simplify even further. So let's do these two middle terms first. We can combine them to be 85i and plus 60. And 30i squared is negative 30 because I squared is negative 1. And 16 minus 9i squared. I squared is negative 1, so we get negative 9. And then, oops, I left something from the previous video. Let me cut that out. And then we simplify that further, and we combine these two terms, and we get 30 plus 85i over, so remember the negatives cancel out and you get a positive. So 16 plus 9 is 25. And it's not yet in the form a plus bi, but we're going to change it to that. So then we get 30 over 25. This is just from distributing the 25. Plus 85 over 25i. And we can simplify that further. And we can multiply the numerator and the denominator by 1/5. And we get 6. Let me draw better. 6. We get 6 over 5, right? Because 30 divided by 5 is 6, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. And then we get 85 divided by 5, which is 17. And then 25 divided by 5, which is 5. Then we get I, and we could turn that into decimals if we want to. And this would be 1.2 plus 3.4i. And remember, all we had to do was multiply both sides, the top and the bottom, by the complex conjugate of the denominator of the original fraction. And that's how we divide complex numbers.